the speaker there.
You're watching the Restoration Industry Book Review, a podcast that encourages roofers, flood and fire mitigation contractors to continually learn and grow to improve their businesses and lives. I'm Matt Danskin, a training consultant best known for teaching restoration contractors to consistently develop productive referral relationships with insurance agents. I'm sitting down with experts from across the industry to dive into the books that help them improve and make an impact on the restoration industry.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 9 of the Restoration Industry Book Review. I am out here in beautiful Houston, Texas for RoofCon 2020, and I'm really excited about today's show. This book was something that really blew me away. We're going to be looking at The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and I've got some great guests to help me look at that today. The first guest is Zach Blenkinsopp. And he was actually the one that recommended this book to me. He's kind of my champion of this book here for today. I want to bring him on and let him introduce himself to the audience here. Zach, tell everybody who you are, what you do, man.
Hey, my name is Zach Blenkinsopp. I own a company called, we are now DRI Incorporated, previously known as Digital Roofing Innovations. And I'm a licensed general contractor and roofing contractor in North Alabama.
Awesome, man. And I also have Laura Nelson here from Signpost. Laura, for those people out there that don't know what Signpost is already, tell them who you are first off, but what Signpost does.
Sure. Good to be here, guys. Signpost helps contractors manage their online reviews, get more of them. We also have some tools like web chat or mobile app that help contractors communicate with their prospects and with homeowners too.
Very good. So along with these two guests that we had scheduled, I was talking with someone this morning, and he let me know this is one of his favorite books, and it happened to work out that we could have him on the show. So I've got with me on the couch here in the lounge.
What up?
Not the large lost lounge, just the book review lounge. Mr. Pate Smith, McClenny Mosley and Associates. So very excited to have all of you guys on the show here today. Here as we get ready to start RoofCon today, later on today. But I want to really jump into the topics of this book. I was talking to a contractor last night about this. Just the title 4-Hour Workweek made him cringe. We're programmed to be hardworking, dedicated, just go all the time. And so this kind of flies in the face of that in some respects. But Zach, I want you to tackle kind of our first topic here on the show in terms of what impact this had on your company and on your life.
Well, it's, for me, it's a little bit different story too. So my last full-time job, I had a corporate job where I worked at Hearst Media out of San Antonio, Texas. And Hearst was the #1 digital marketing agency in the United States. And so I sold small to medium marketing packages to a lot of my customers that ended up being contractors. And contractors and teeth was kind of my two specialties. So I would sell these digital marketing packages. So we're talking about SEO, pay-per-click, website, the whole suite of digital marketing. And I had noticed how much roofing contractors made on their margins compared to HVAC contractors, plumbers, electricians. It was very similar. Of course, the barrier of entry to get into roofing versus getting to some of the other trades was far different.
Yeah.
And I'd had someone recommend reading the 4-Hour Work Week. I read it from cover to cover in 3 days. And as soon as I finished the book, I knew nothing about roofing at the time. And we're not talking about it that long ago. We're talking about 4 years ago. I booked a trip to Colombia and booked a trip to Costa Rica. I'd done some international traveling, but I never approached it like I would actually be living in these other countries. And, after reading the 4-Hour Work Week, I met a lot of quote unquote digital nomads and the people that were the quote unquote new rich that were living these lifestyles. Like you're meeting dudes that were living, in Medellin, Colombia on like $30,000-$40,000 a year US, but their lifestyle was like they made like $250 a year. And I was like, because just the exchange rate and stuff. So I immediately came back to my regular job. I negotiated to try to do remote work. They wouldn't let me, so I quit my job and started Digital Roofing Innovations literally like 2 weeks after I got back from my trip. And so the 4-Hour Work Week, and my business partner, Chris McGuire, he was a Tim Ferriss disciple too. And so we built our company with the principles from that book. And that is to do as least amount of work as possible, but maximize the amount of profits that you can make from the work that you do, or your hour rate.
Yeah. Awesome. That's good to understand about what you're doing, kind of how you got into that. It's amazing that it was that recent that you started.
This is the Bible, man.
Yeah, for sure. Laura, can you, for everybody, I know Zach kind of jumped into some of these concepts in the book. For those people that haven't read the book yet, can you give kind of a synopsis? Tell everybody what this whole thing's about.
Yeah, the book can have different meanings for different people, and it really kind of depends on where you are in your life, right? So the title, you've heard 4-Hour Work Week. It is about getting more efficient and more effective with your time, and ideally consolidating all of your work activities in a really controlled period of each week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you mentioned people are cringing at this idea of 4 hours. I think it is that's really aspirational. I don't think we are literally working 4 hours.
Sure, yeah.
Really difficult to do, but I think the big takeaways for a lot of us, for me certainly, is taking stock of which activities actually drive value, and maximizing those and getting rid of the fluff and creating more time and more space for the things that you actually want to do with your week, with your time, which is finite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear stories about how people have gotten into this book, because it was recommended to me 3 years ago. I was living in the Bay Area, working for a different tech company, trying to figure out how to take more ownership of my own time and work in the things that I wanted to do with it, kind of in the similar spirit, right? I had a buddy recommend it to me. He's like, you got to read this book. I was evaluating a move to Colorado, and I read it, and I was like, I can do this stuff, even with the types of jobs that I have, and work remotely and have more control over my day and week as a result. And that's exactly what I did with inspiration from this book.
Yep. Awesome. So, Pate, I know you, everybody knows you work about 4 hours a week, right? No. Oh, no. But you really like this book. So yeah. Tell me about that. How do you like the book 4-Hour Work Week? And I know you are somebody that puts in a lot of work.
Yeah, sometimes I do. So 4-Hour Work Week was, for one, instrumental in me. I read it in between my 1L and 2L year in law school. So go back to me during that time. For one, I thought it was super inventive at that time. That was probably like a 2008-ish maybe time frame. So like Zach said off screen, that was when some of the ideas in tech kind of in this book, and the utilization of tech, utilization of third-party individuals to really streamline some of the things you did, really made sense. So a lot of people don't know this. I started my first company in law school, and that was a professional development company. And it also concentrated on personal interactions. I wrote a click to buy on how to utilize and optimize Tinder and other dating apps at that time. And it was based off of the efficiency principles from Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week. Yeah. So like, I'm not saying that I was the first person to come up with this. However, I will say, I don't know a single person, a single male professional development company, dating company, anything back when it launched that had a click to buy that was all about like maxing out your daily number of opportunities through the app, and then scaling back, and then seeing what accepted you, and then making your determination. And that was off of Tim Ferriss principle.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember
that. And that was from him. So then I started my first company, and I was very much like Zach. I wanted to be, I'm going to be newly married. We have lots of stuff we want to go do, vacations. I want to work from the road. And that's how my coaching company started. And it did well. My problem is I like to take everything to the like 900th level. So if I'm like, okay, 4 hours, what could I do in 50 hours if I use the same efficiency? Like, how do I scale this? Like, how many 4-hour businesses could I have? Now it's changed my life, interestingly enough, because I use still today in getting referral sources for the law firm, I still use those same principles that even go back to like that Tinder click to buy, right? On getting those referral sources in a more efficient manner. Right. I still utilize that now. Yeah. And I use that basically since I've been in this industry on how to bring people in. And then Tim also taught me in, I would say, a more passive form, along with kind of like some Gary Vee teachings, but like Gary Vee concepts within Tim Ferriss like processes of how to hold people's attention online. And that has been massively important to my success.
That's I think one of the biggest things that stood out for me in this book was his application of Pareto's principle, right, and the 80-20 rule. And that's something that really was convicting to me, because it's very easy to slip into habits of doing stuff that you feel busy, you're running around, you're doing stuff, but it's not really providing a lot of value, whether that's profit or production or whatever. It's not being effective. And so I think the exercise of looking at, okay, what's the 100% of things that I'm doing? Right. And what's the 20% that's getting me 80% of my results? And let me cut out the 80% that's getting me 20% of the results. So I looked at this. I was talking to one of my clients last night, and he's just run ragged. He's working 60-hour weeks and just, has his hands full and can't get everything done. And that was really my encouragement, was like, you can get you're at 100% capacity right now. Pull yourself down to 20% capacity, and you're still going to make 80% of the money. Right. And then you could replicate that 20% again. So you're still only at 40% of your capacity, but you're doing 160% of what you were doing before. Absolutely. Just because you're only doing the most benefit-rich activities out of all that. Zach, this book talks a lot about the technology that we use, how to automate things, how to empower people. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here is because I know I talk to contractors all the time, and there's a lot of contractors that are they're working 70 hours a week. They have their hands in every decision, every step of the way, and they can't imagine a world where they could be a county away, much less a continent away, managing their business.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
Well, last year, I think you know this, I lived in Mexico City pretty much all of 2019. My business partner was in Colombia. We still had, so basically when we started, our original goal, speaking of Pate's point of, maximizing return and with your time and, all that stuff. What our original plan was is we were going to build a company and then get it to where we could manage it remotely. And Tim talks about that in the book, where he discusses, what's what a lot of people want to build a company and then sell it 20 or 30 years later is, realistic for most people, because most people don't have the resources to put together a company and take it public or whatever the case may be to sell it. So it's, it takes time just to sell a company. So you're missing out on all that time. So what we try to do is build a company as quickly as we could that would equal out what my business partner and I found was like a good income for the places we were living, and which didn't have to be a whole lot of profit. We could live very comfortably on $50,000 a year in some of the places that we were at. And what it turned out was you could do that, but it was you would end up having to, especially being a relatively young company, you would have to micromanage from afar. Well, that didn't really fit my what I wanted to do either, because if you have to micromanage from afar, you're still working. You may just be in Buenos Aires or Paris or wherever. Well, that's cool, but you're still not getting to enjoy your lifestyle. So what we actually did is we actually pared back all of our employees, and we started. So now currently the way we operate, and we applied the 80-20 principle. We hated doing residential, and it didn't provide a whole lot of profit. But we started doing a lot of apartment complexes, and we started doing bigger jobs. And then we said, what are ways that we can find to make the quickest profit humanly possible in this industry without doing the least amount of work, and be able to do this and live somewhere else. And the model we came up with, Chris and I would just be basically the sole, people in the company. And then we could outsource to other countries some other roles. Like right now we have a girl that does business development for us that lives in Colombia, and she's got an MBA, and she's great. And she's helping us do nothing but bid out federal government contracts. And so what we found is by me and him owning the business, and we don't have to pay any salesmen or anything like that. And most of the work we do now is federal government work. We have pigeonholed exactly what makes the most profit for us. And so if I have to go manage a project one time a year, let's just say it's a small job. Let's just say it's a $250,000 project. We go manage it and we make 30% margin on that.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, that becomes, a $75,000 profit. By the time I invest in the company with all the overhead cut, which is the big deal for us, is always overhead. With overhead cut, I could write myself legitimately a $50,000 check, write my partner a $5,000 check, put the rest of it in the business. We've got a runway for the rest of the year. And I ran one project that took up about a month and a half, 2 months of my time, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I spend the rest of my 10 months doing whatever I want. So that's kind of how we built the company, and how I recommend that if you, every contractor has to do the extreme as us, but the biggest thing is learning how to, in my opinion, is cutting overhead. Cutting overhead is the number one thing that's going to reduce stress for the company. And two, it's find whatever, like you said, like use the 80-20 principle and find out what is my most profitable work. And most of the time, for most people, it's not going to be just pounding residential and door knocking. That's just my opinion. The numbers don't suggest somebody that wants to work a lot, and that's just a hard way to run a business and live my type of lifestyle. So that's always my recommendation to people is use that 80-20 principle. Like that is the rule. And, really start putting a lot of value in what your time personally is.
Very good. One of the things that are, I guess, some of what he talks about in here is automation to help make all this stuff happen, and using tools to do all that.
Yep.
Obviously, Laura, you're kind of our tech person on the call, right? Well, I guess we're all tech people to some degree, but that's what you do specifically. Is you're automating part of that process, part of what contractors are doing, which I know it's not fun to go run around and chase reviews, and that's not where we make our money. It's an important thing, but tell me about like what you do to increase automation and areas that you see that contractors can automate to become more efficient in what they're doing.
Yeah, I think automation is a part of making your day more efficient, right? There are links that you can create even across your own tech stack, right? Whether they're like native integrations or even through Zapier. I know not a lot of contractors are using it, but the ones who are take friction out of the process, take the human element out of the process, and ensure these little tasks get done. Apps like ours are built so that there's no friction across even different apps or different platforms between your mobile phone, between your desktop computer, because like every time you have to like stop and answer a call and then go to your computer, there's time, right? Mm-hmm. And like the right platforms and the right triggers through Zapier or whatever are going to reduce that friction, take out the time required, take out like this human element of shifting from one activity to another. And I think probably across all of us, right? Like we've figured out how to hack that to be more efficient, more effective, and like take out those kind of 2 minutes even of switching from task to task, because that's like a waste of time, right? And we get distracted as humans really easily where we're like, oh shoot, now something else is happening, like on another, platform. I'm getting a buzz here, whatever. Like those little things, even if you're not taking your work to an extreme and, taking 10 months off or in exploring the world, which like, I think is awesome. Like these little things can even make your day a whole lot shorter.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think, like I said, this book was really convicting for me because I realized there was a lot of things that I was doing that I was wasting time on, including, doing something that could be automated just because it only takes a couple minutes. But it's taking my attention off of something else. And ultimately, if it's something that maybe I do at one, it's sending an email that happens after something. It's something that I spend 30 seconds on once a week, but I'm going to have to keep doing it for years. So it's going to take me 2 minutes to set up that automation. It happens automatically. I'm not having to shift my attention.
Another thing is stacking tasks together,
right? Or batching, he calls it.
So that's basically how I do my entire life now. Is people are like, why do you have two phones? One reason, okay, well, two reasons. One, I fly a lot, and if I lose one phone while I'm traveling, I have the other phone, so I have a lifeline, and then they share Apple IDs. But two, I will let all the notifications stack up on this one and then knock all my tasks out here. And then I'll let all of them stack up on this one and then knock all of them out here.
Right.
So that, and they have different tasks going on and then different things assigned to them. Also, something that I learned, I would say I generate 1 to 5 deals a week off of Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger.
Yep.
And if I can have a way to sort through the trash similar to email on electronic messaging. So now none of my initial talks, if you message me, it's never me talking to you.
Right.
Until something substantive, and then it would kick over to me.
Right.
Unless I'm just happen to be there and see something.
Yeah. Right.
and that goes to that batching method of how much can you kick out of my day, and that can even be assistant.
Yep.
Right. And sometimes on person-to-person interaction, you want somebody that's very close to you
Right.
to handle that because they know how I would respond.
Yep.
And that's an important thing to realize is person-to-person interaction is one of your most costly day-to-day activities.
Yep.
And Tim kind of broke that down for me, and it all starts on with the whole email thing, right? And I think has anybody have both of you guys watched The Social Dilemma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the guy's talking about being connected to email, I was massively like taken to the 4-hour work week there.
Yep.
And then on the other point of that is instead of thinking that in a negative manner, the question then came to me was, okay, like we all obviously compete in business for attention. Okay. And if all marketing is quote unquote propaganda,
right.
And then we use these concepts from The Social Dilemma that have semi-deleterious effects
Sure.
To society, but we use it in a positive manner for business. Isn't that like the highest, like Tim Ferriss concept? Like
Absolutely,
you're using the best possible thing, like the psychology of like technology and marketing to then hold more attention. I mean, that's what the book's about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciated as I was setting up this this podcast. I was coordinating with Zach. We had planned, we'd scheduled this a while back, and I'm reading through the book or listening to the book, and he's talking about like batching your emails, only giving that your attention every periodically, not just staying being a magnet to your phone. Okay, notification. And a lot of times it's stupid stuff that has no value to us. And I sent Zach a messenger message, and I think it was like a day later that you responded back, and you're like, "Hey, can you please email me all the information to this email? I don't keep Messenger downloaded." And I was like, "Oh, he's actually doing what this book teaches you." And really, I had to examine in my head. I was like, I really respect that. And I'm going to go the extra mile to put everything together so I have it delivered to him on a silver platter so he can do what he needs to do in coordination, in preparation for this thing.
Yeah.
And, and it wasn't, I didn't feel shorted. I didn't feel like you didn't respect me or anything.
Sure.
It was very professional. But it was, what I liked about it is it was very much like, we're going to do this my way. And I'm going to be polite about it and professional about it, but we're going to do it the way that works for me. And I like that. That's how I like to do business. I'm very big on using an automated calendar.
Sure.
For everything I do. I've got my by appointment only t-shirt on, right? I use an automated calendar for everything. So, and every once in a while I get off of that and I just jump on a random call or whatever. But for the most part, I can point people to that.
Right.
And I, that was really instrumental for me. I went from working 60, 70 hours a week. Anytime someone was like, "Hey, can you look at my roof?" Yeah, sure. When do you want me to do it? 6 o'clock in the evening?
Right.
I'd probably rather be, eating dinner with my family, but I was running around and doing all that stuff versus giving someone the parameters and saying, "Here's my schedule. You find a time that works for you. I'll give you my whole availability."
Absolutely.
And they feel respected because you've been a service to them, but you're only providing to them the times that you want to provide to them.
Now imagine this, okay? So if we want to talk about scaling that principle of what you just said, imagine that instead of just that one homeowner, you could have an entire city given your availability. How do you think that availability would fill up?
Yeah.
So
that's
the question,
what I do, bro.
Right. But then the question is two-part. How do we get thrust that out? Right. Like not in a Ferriss manner, but to like use his maximal concepts in like maximizing business. I'm not talking about for you. I'm just thinking to myself like, man, You know, I'm a big Calendly fan.
So I like Calendly. It's good for guys like you and like me that are like one guy. They've got a few services that they provide. Here's my schedule. The one that I use is a little bit different because most of the contractor clients that I work with have 30 sales guys in 2 different markets that have 10 different types of services. Some of them do some services, some do others. All these people have different availability. All these services have different availability. They need different buffers. They need different automations. And so that's the service that I use for that is the only one that I've found that has been able to do that. Calendly doesn't.
So I will say I've actually never done anything inside Calendly. I've only had like assistant people set it up for me. So like I have no clue, but I will say like I think it's magic because it's just like in my calendar and it's like talk to Steve at this time. He wants to talk about this. Here's the number. I'm like, God, who are you magic Calendly people?
So for you guys, I think one of the key things that he points out is making sure that your time is effective, right? That hey, can we jump on a call? And it like sends an email like, sure, can you, so that we can be most effective, can you share what you want to talk about? Right? Because we're not just going to sit there and talk about the weather. That's not a good use of my time. I'd rather go, I've got friends and family I can go spend time with. Absolutely. Unless we have a good reason to. And it's not that you can't, have friendly conversations or whatever with the people that you are working with. But there needs to be a parameters for that. Just like for this call, this is how long the call is going to be. We got another 6 minutes, then we're done. Zach's got somewhere to be. But we're going to respect each other's time. We're going to plan out what's happening there. Both of you want to, any other thoughts that either of you have about that or anything else about Zach and then Laura?
So I'll tell you this. I used to be really bad about, and I'm still probably a little bit, it's just, the salesman in me, right? But to talk a lot. And my business partner is the opposite. So if you guys have watched Ozark, I always joke around that my partner reminds me a lot of Marty Bird and his mannerisms and stuff in the show. And it's something that I've actively worked on since I've read the book. And like my partner, he's taken it to, like, when he read the book, he took it to the extreme. So like, he does this. He doesn't do it with me anymore. But even when we first got together, like as soon as we get hop on a call, we had like a bunch of stuff to go over. He'd be like, "Hey man, I've got 30 minutes." I'm like, "How am I supposed to go over all this in 30 minutes?" And then without him being rude about it, he'd be like, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I only have 30 minutes." My brain would switch, and I would be like, "All right, I'm going to cover all these topics in 30 minutes," just because he politely asked me to. And and you're right. Like when you send me a message, I don't keep a messenger download because I don't want my phone. So I don't keep hardly any notifications on my phone because like I got a pretty big social media following now, and so I get messages nonstop. And so if I allow myself to have those messenger downloaded and notifications on Instagram and TikTok or whatever, like I'll never get anything done throughout the day. So I do like Pate's talking about. I batch. I just wait till the end of the day, and I'll go through all my messages, answer them real quick, or whatever, and I'll get it done really quickly. But
that's because most of the messages are from Don off of Instagram.
Sure,
it's just like trying to get my boy Zach.
Right, and I mean you got a message that you want to be broken from, but a lot of times like when it comes to like for me, I work most effectively business wise over email. So if I can have everything, if I know basically all my or any obligations that I have or in my email, then I can automatically go to that and say, okay, because I'm at the point now, like Pate and I live very different lifestyles now, and I respect I respect Pate's. I'm single, don't have kids, travel. Pate, does all what he does in a week and still manages to be a good dad and a good husband. I have a lot of respect for him for that. But it's but it is. When you set the expectation, to me, about taking when you give the expectation to other people ahead of time, like, hey, I only have this much time available, people will automatically respect your time. And then all of a sudden that meeting that you had with that contractor you hate to talk to, or that homeowner that is going to talk to you for an hour, you just walk in right from the beginning. Hey, listen, I'm sorry, I've got to leave in 15 minutes. You got my full attention though for the next 15 minutes. And they're going to immediately start respecting your time without you even having to be rude about it. So,
Yeah.
But that's something I've actually worked on, and I've really started applying to my own life. To just now I have a lot of free time.
That's a beautiful thing. I think, and Laura, I'll switch up the question really, because Zach brought up a good point about I forget the name of the principle that he talks about in the book, but just having a pending deadline will force you to be more effective and more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about a lot of what he talks about, like, hey, a gun to your head. You have to make this decision. You have to eliminate this waste.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to get rid of? Tell me your thoughts on that, ways that you do that.
Yeah, I relate to what you're saying with respect to like a shorter meeting, limited time, right? Because I'm more like him in that, like, I don't have the same obligations that Pate has, right? Like, I don't have a family, etc. But like, I have other things I want to do with the day, right? Like, I'm an artist, I have a consulting business on the side. I want to work out, right? So like, instead of scheduling these like 1 hour meetings, which usually are filled with a lot of fluff, like, I've got 30 minutes, right? And I have a goal at the end of the meeting. Like, what do we need to get out of this? And then what happens next?
That's
and
good.
I'm always like tracking to that, right?
I would say cut it shorter.
Yeah. Like,
If you want me and it's not like overly defined and not a bunch of money, you got a hot 15. Otherwise, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we can't do this in 15 minutes, like, send me an email, because we're not about to discuss every business problem you have and how it relates.
Right.
No, I totally get that, because I'm always trying to like downshift it. Like, an hour goes to 30, something that was a 30 goes to 15, or something that was 15 goes to email, etc. Like, how do you tighten it up at every juncture? And then like, when the day is done, when that calendar shows no availability beyond that, like, I'm moving on to my other activities.
Yeah.
I'm walking the dog, I'm working out, I'm doing my artwork, etc.
You're setting setting boundaries for yourself.
I've got those 5 things that I said at the beginning of the day I was going to get done. I could fill the time with all of these other things that, I want to get done in the business, but then I'm stuck in this trap of, oh shoot, I've worked 8 hours or 10 hours today. That's not my goal.
Yep.
Time's not the goal. It's the objective for the day and for the week, right?
Absolutely.
This week, I'm taking tomorrow off. I'm getting everything done Monday through Thursday. I've got other stuff I'm doing the next 3 days that are outside of the, the full-time job objectives.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you guys. So to be able to kind of like turn, actually I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, but like the switch on and off, like turn Zach's work switch on and be able to handle like massively effective tasks, or Laura's work switch and be maximally effective in that time. It's like definitely a separate mindset.
Absolutely.
Okay, because you're just like boom, 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 next task, boom, boom, boom. Okay, and that's what something that I get into, my mind goes to, and now I can turn that switch on very easily. And the issue I have that I run into personally a lot is turning the switch off.
Yep.
Right. So once I get in like Pate destroy mode, next. So I've had to basically create how I go from like work Pate to like personal Pate, right? And because there's definitely a different person on one side than there is the other. Have you guys found any defined ways on how you're able to like shut like maximum efficiency mode off and then turn it back on? Like, do you have triggers?
I think, I'll answer first
Go ahead,
because,
yeah.
I'm also, married with 3 kids. And so I think this is really relevant for me is I've had to define my work hours and I work from home. I've got, a home office. And so it's really, we've got 2 of our kids are at home and my wife's at home. So it's really easy for them to like try to interrupt my work day. Right. And so I have my work hours where they know Daddy's working, we can't interrupt that. But at the same time, I know, when 5 o'clock hits or whatever that time is that I set, the emails can wait till tomorrow. The messages can wait till tomorrow. That customer, if I answer their call, or that client, if I answer their call, it's, hey, my wife's getting ready to throw dinner on the table real quick. I've got 2 minutes, and they know, hey, they can talk to me tomorrow, and that's probably something I can do better at as well. Is just, hey, catch me tomorrow. There's no emergency that I'm going to be able to solve for them that can't wait until tomorrow.
Right.
And so I think that's, I guess the biggest reminder of this is sectioning off those hours. And using these principles to be really effective during your workday so that you get plenty done and you don't feel like, I need to keep letting the work linger all evening because I didn't get much done throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge for me. You guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, Laura and I is basically in the same situation though, compared to you guys. Like we're both single and don't have kids. So, so for me, like I can work 24/7 and it doesn't affect anyone besides my own, personal health. And when we first started the company, we did, I worked hard, my first 2 years trying to figure out what the right formula for success was. And on top of that, both my partner and I, we put in like $5,000 to start. I mean, we bootstrapped our company. We didn't take out loans or we didn't get any venture capitalists. We bootstrapped the business. So the biggest thing was building capital too. And so I think that it's healthy that you have to set goals, particularly like if you're in situations like ours, because and this is always the principle of the book that I think is for anybody who really follows it to a T and applies it to their business is, when is it enough? And that's where you have to like really set boundaries for yourself and set goals. Like, this year in my company, I'm personally finally receiving a commission and salary. And I'm about to write my check, like a $40,000 check off this last project. Up until this, I've been living on $30,000 or less for 3.5 years. Like I've been grinding, dude. But now I'm at this point. Do I continue to stack the checking account, or do I take off and go to Medellin, Colombia next month for 3 months, which is what I've built the company to do. And so I feel like it's even if you apply the principles, you build the company then because Tim Ferriss is, in his imagination of the future world, this new rich, that there was going to be a lot of us that wanted to live like this, nomad lifestyle and no possessions. And, you fast forward 15 years and we still like to buy big houses and drive fast cars and shit. Not a whole lot's changed in that. So a lot of it, I think, is really scaling on, back on how much money do I really want to make versus how much free time do I really want to have. And that is something that I feel like if you're in our situation where you have unlimited time to spend on your company, is you have to maintain sticking to goals. And like what Laura said, I got 5 tasks to do today. I'm going to do those 5 tasks. And if I get done at 11 o'clock, I'm going to go have some mimosas at lunch. I'm going to go do my, walk in the park this afternoon or whatever, instead of being like, you know what, I can go ahead and do those 5 tasks for tomorrow. And that just becomes a cycle that you go over through.
Yeah.
I think for me too, like this year, I basically said in, January, I'm going to like batch my effort for like 18 months. So I'm going to like work nonstop for 18 months. so that I do have some things like a pipeline established. I do have some of these automations established, so I can go ahead and reap the rewards. Yeah, I mean, I actually, one of my goals is, to get back more to, hey, like in the summer, I want to spend every summer now at the beach with the kids.
Right.
So, I'm kind of putting the things in place now, I think, where I can do that. But I do think, as far as Tim kind of looking in the future, what you're going to see, I think, particularly with how the economy may be affected, like over time, and people being less involved in transactional situations, like people being completely removed from transactional situations. I think that these concepts are going to be massively utilized by people. I hear people all the time say like $1 million is the new 100,000. I think maybe it's the reverse. I think like 30 grand may be the new 100K.
Right.
For society as a mass. And I don't mean that now. I mean that in like a 5-year like projection due to some of the things we're seeing. And I could be wrong, and I hope I am wrong. But I do think that you're going to see these people that are these, tech nomads. And by that, I mean like live life through, your bank account's online, your efforts are online. Why do you need to be anywhere?
Right.
Yeah, and the pandemic has really forced that shift. It's accelerated that shift, right? Because we're seeing a lot of people adapt really quickly and can do these things from whatever location that they want to be in, and can shift their lives to somewhere that requires less capital, right?
Yep.
So like Zach's been doing that, but others are catching on. Like, hey, I don't have to be in the city anymore. I can be somewhere where I've always dreamed of being, including the beach for the summer, right? So for me, that's really exciting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, this, for me, I just read the book. All of you guys had a head start on me and read the book a while back. I just read the book here. And for me, I do my consulting from home. And there's a lot of consultants in this business that they travel to you, right? Whether you're roofing companies in California or New York or Florida or whatever. And so they're constantly away from their families. They're away from having the control over where they want to be. And for a lot of people, that's okay. Like, they enjoy hitting the road and being in these various different places. For me, I want to be where I'm at. And so that was something that was huge for me, is just being able to leverage technology, leverage these programs so that I can meet virtually. I can provide all that value without having to be physically in person. And that way I can have the liberty that I'm looking for. Guys, I want to, again, respect your time. We're going to wrap up the show here. Bring everybody back. I want to thank all of you for being on the show. Laura, Zach, and special surprise guest Pate. Pate and I are going to go throw down some weight right now. He was talking a bunch of trash about how much he can lift, so we're going to see what's up.
That is false.
Don't be too impressed.
That is false. I did not talk trash.
Yeah, so we'll be going live here in a minute to watch Pate try to get the bar off his neck.
Yeah.
But guys, thanks for checking out the show, or thanks for being on the show. Everybody who's watching or watches later, thanks for checking it out. If you're coming to RoofCon, which I know the two of you aren't, stop by booth 303 and see me at the Restoration Referral System booth. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, man. Hey, appreciate it for having me on, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, bye.